Yo, what's up? Let's talk about Akai and the whole MPC 3.0 situation because honestly, it's got a lot of us desktop producers feeling some type of way. Standalone users are getting all the love, and if you're like me and rely on a Mac or PC for your workflow, you might be wondering, what's going on? What about us? Let's take a moment, let's break it down. First off, Akai is clearly focused on standalone hardware right now. And look, I get it. The idea of making music without a computer is appealing. The portability is great, the freedom is great, but not everyone wants or needs to have that. There's a whole segment of producers, including myself, who rely heavily on desktops as the core of their workflow. When you look at Akai's marketing and product updates, it's obvious that standalone is their priority. And that leaves us desktop producers asking, yo, what about us? Like Jodeci, what about us? Right? What about us? All right. So it's kind of like Akai is saying, if you're not using our hardware for standalone production, you're not a priority at the moment. And that kind of hurts, right? That kind of stings a little bit because for years, we have been a key part of the MPC community. The thing with standalone is that you're locked into their ecosystem. You're using Akai's instruments, Akai sounds, Akai's effects. Now, don't get me wrong. Akai's library is solid, but it's a closed system. For Akai, that's great because they keep you in-house. They keep you locked into that ecosystem. They don't have to worry about users leaning on third-party plugins or instruments from competitors. But for us producers and creatives who want to use a desktop, it can feel limiting, especially if we've already invested in tools outside of Akai's ecosystem like I have. And I mean tons of money in other VSTs and audio units and effects that I like to use that I can't use in the standalone mode, right? That's why I need the software. This is my plea, Akai, for the software. But we're keeping it real. Akai does seem to be leaning heavily into bringing the MPC back to its roots as a true standalone powerhouse. I get it, right? The MPC was first created as a standalone device, and many producers are used to creating music that way, but not everyone enjoys the standalone process. Just look at Akai's latest move, where they partnered with Native Instruments to bring their Play series and expansions to the MPC. That should tell you right there, yes, we are focused on standalone, right? You can also check out, my Native Instruments and Akai's video where I share some in-depth thoughts on this partnership and probably why they're more focused on standalone right now than desktop. So that video will be linked up here somewhere. Make sure you go check that out as well. That partnership, one, is great. But two, it kind of shows me that yes, standalone is a major priority rather than the desktop, which is keeping producers and creatives within their own ecosystem, but it is ostracizing a certain segment of the producer community. So the big question is, why didn't they just release the desktop and the standalone together? Kind of makes sense, right? To release the desktop and the standalone together. But there's probably some reasons for that. And I'm gonna get into a couple of those here in just a moment. The most likely reason is that Akai is prioritizing standalone because it aligns with their vision of the MPC as an all-in-one, portable, standalone device. Releasing the standalone version first lets them focus on delivering a streamlined experience just for their hardware users, their standalone users. It also allows them to troubleshoot and to refine the software without the added complexity of making it work seamlessly on the desktop platform. Another reason could be resources, right? So developing software that integrates smoothly across both standalone hardware and desktop, we know it's not a small task. So by staggering the release, Akai is more than likely kind of managing their workload to avoid overextending their development teams. That could be a reason, but for desktop producers, this staggered approach just feels like another delay. and another reminder that we're not the focus right now. Finally, this could be about gathering feedback, right? Most times when they put betas out and things like that, they're going through the process of gathering the feedback, tweaking, and ensuring that it works appropriately. So rolling out the software for Standalone first allows Akai to collect insights from real-world users, creatives, producers, to refine the software based on their experiences. So that when the desktop version eventually does arrive, it should, at least in theory, benefit from those improvements. Still, that doesn't make the wait any easier for producers who rely on Macs or PCs to create music. And that brings me to the desktop software itself. So let's be honest, it's been feeling stagnant for a while now. Compared to what Akai is doing with the Standalone, with the MPC3, the desktop software feels like it's stuck in neutral. And the reason for this is simply because we're still stuck on MPC 2.15.1. Now, don't get me wrong, MPC 2.15.1 is super solid, right? But it's starting to feel dated, especially with what they're doing with MPC3. Then the MPC standalone users right now, they are just out here exploring everything that MPC3 has to offer. Stems and the new play series and the expansions and the enhanced main mode and the linear song arranger and the new studio mixer and the advanced key groups and the new XL channel strip and a whole bunch of stuff that, you know, we don't get to benefit from, but they're benefiting from, you know, those new features, those new updates and advancements that we desktop producers don't even get access to as of yet, unless we want to jump into, you know, standalone mode. But I don't really like standalone mode like that. That's not my big, you know, that's not how I really create music. I use a PC, or actually I use a Mac, but you know, I use a desktop, and I like to have access to my other plugins that I like to use, my other creative tools that I like to use. You know, this is it. Am I the only one that's frustrated because of this? Because I know what the MPC3 is possible. I know the possibilities with that, but unless you're willing to switch to standalone, you know, we're kind of left out in the loop. So what makes this even worse, right? You add insult to injury. It's seeing everyone on social media and on YouTube showcasing the MPC3. Look, I got the new MPC3 software. Look, I got, and it's like, yeah, I get it. You know, thanks for rubbing it in. I know y'all out there testing the beta. Well, the beta, it's out of beta now. You're testing out the new features, hyping up the experience for everybody. But here's the thing, unless you're working in standalone, you're stuck on the sidelines. Desktop producers don't even have the option to try it out unless you're willing to dive into standalone, which is not for everyone. Watching all of this unfold just adds to frustration because it highlights how disconnected Akai's priorities feel for us who rely on computers to produce our music. And here's the thing, desktop producers aren't just your casual music users, music creators. We're power users, right? We use a variety of instruments, a variety of effects and MIDI capabilities and mixing tools and more. And we thrive on having access to all of our tools in our arsenal without being limited by a closed system. That's why many of us rely on desktop setups in the first place, because it gives us the freedom to customize our workflow and to create without restrictions. Standalone systems, while impressive, and they are impressive, like I love my MPC, you know, any MPC, I got an MPC1, I got a Key 37, which is sitting over here now. I got an MPC-X, which you see back there. Like, I'm thinking about getting the Live 2. Don't know why. Maybe I'll sell one of these just to get the Live 2. I don't know. But we'll see, right? I do love the systems. I like using them in a software perspective, but they can feel limiting for us power users, right? You're probably like me, a power user who likes to use other things. We want to have flexibility. We want to be able to integrate third-party tools seamlessly to use those advanced MIDI capabilities and mix with the full range of effects that we've already spent money into. But until MPC3 is available for desktop, we're stuck wondering if it will truly address these needs. Now, to be fair, we don't know yet what MPC3 for the desktop version will bring for Mac and PC. For all we know, it could include everything that we've been asking for, we've been looking for. It can have capabilities that rival Ableton and Logic and FL Studio. And if that's the case, it could explain why Akai hasn't released it yet. They could be taking their little time, you know, to get it right, to deliver something that finally lives up to the expectations of desktop producers. Once again, that kind of rivals Ableton and something like my favorite DAW of choice, which is Logic. But here's the problem. Where the answers at?
You ain't got the answer, Sway.
We've been left waiting with no clear answers. While the desktop users are enjoying all the benefits, we're still working on 2.15.1. And once again, it's solid. Like, it's a solid tool. But it feels like we're being forced to watch from the sidelines, not knowing if it's going to be coming, right? If it's going to truly give us all the things that we want from a desktop perspective. So until we see it for ourselves, it's hard to not feel like our loyalty as power users is being tested. If Akai wants to keep us on board, the desktop version of MPC is going to have to deliver. It's going to have to deliver big. So it's undeniable. This whole situation has created a divide within the MPC community. I don't know if you've seen it. I've seen it. I'm looking at videos all the time, commenting on other people's videos. And then on one side, you have standalone users who are already enjoying everything about the MPC 3.0 that it has to offer. They're hyped about the new features. They're making videos. They're talking about it. They're talking about the updates. And honestly, I don't even think they see the big deal. They're like, what's the big deal? Right? Then there's the other side, the desktop users, waiting for our turn to experience the same advancements, the same updates, the same feeling that those standalone users are having. But we're feeling kind of like the forgotten stepchild of the MPC family. And what makes it worse is that when you go to these videos and you see the comments and you hear the frustration and the things that are happening within those comments, like, it's kind of like two sides, right? And so you got the standalone MPC users saying things like, well, MPC was made to be a standalone. And then why don't you just quit complaining and why don't you just go make music? And it's like, yo, that's awesome for you to say because you got what you want, but we don't have the desktop version as of yet. And so while you get to bask in the glory of the MPC 3.0 standalone version, we desktop producers are still stuck defending our own workflow and explaining why desktop version matters to us. It can be disheartening, right? It's kind of like that divide, but it amplifies the feeling of being slighted in some way because we have no clear answer to when the desktop version is coming. So in a way, it feels like a political campaign where you got people picking sides, choosing sides to be on, standalone users rallying around their preferred workflow while the desktop users are pushing for equal attention and support. And guess what? Akai is like stuck right in the middle, trying to appease both sides of the aisle, right? That's the political term. Appease both sides of the aisle without alienating one group over the other. And Akai, I understand it's a tough situation to be in, tough position to be in. And if you don't really kind of figure out how to bring the community back together, this divide is going to grow deeper, and that's not going to be good for anybody. So here's the bottom line. Akai, please ensure that you are focusing not just on standalone, right? And focusing on standalone isn't inherently a bad thing. It's a smart move for the brand to push the freedom and portability that come with the standalone workflow. But at the same time, this can come at the expense of us desktop producers. We're a vital part of the MPC community, and the desktop version of the MPC needs to reflect that by delivering meaningful updates and features that we have been waiting for, things that they're currently enjoying today that we would like to enjoy as well. Now, the good news is that Akai has stated that the desktop version is anticipated to be released in 2025. While that still gives us hope, it just means that we're going to have to wait and watch as the standalone users continue to enjoy the advantages of the MPC 3. And for us, desktop producers, the timeline could feel like an eternity, especially when we're still operating in 2.15.1 with no access to the features that could enhance our workflow. Now, I get it. Some people love 2.15.1 and that's all they want to rock with. I want to rock with the MPC 3.0. I want to get into that and see what it really does. But from a desktop perspective, not necessarily from a standalone perspective, right? So the only answer that has been given so far is that it is
coming soon.
And we know how long soon can be. I mean, they haven't even provided these meaningful updates to the Force. And boy, the Force community, man, I know y'all are upset about it. I see y'all in the comments on all these YouTube videos. What about the Force? Is the Force going to get the updates? When is the Force going to get the MPC 3 update? When we're going to get this? When we're going to get that? And all the replies I see is
coming soon.
You're going to get it soon, right? So that's the thing. So, Akai, here's the deal. The desktop version has to deliver. We're waiting on it, right? And it needs to give us all the things that we're looking for from a desktop producer perspective that gives us that flexibility, that integration, and the powerful tools to create. If it doesn't, the divide is going to continue within the MPC community. And nobody wants to see that, right? We don't want to see that divide grow deeper. So let me know, what do you think? Are you willing to wait for the desktop release, or are you starting to feel left behind? Are you going to jump into the standalone, or are you going to figure out other ways to make music through other mediums, other DAWs, etc.? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear what you're thinking. I want to hear how you're handling all of this, right? What's going on in your own head? What's your perspective of what's happening with standalone versus desktop? And do you think a desktop version is actually going to come? I hope so. I hope that we get a MPC3 standalone for Mac and for PC. But until next time, appreciate y'all tuning in. Keep creating, stay inspired, and keep pushing the boundaries of music. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.